Okay, so now to begin with, as I told you, unit two, topic one and two. Topic one is nature and character of the federal system. So the subtopic is about studying federalism, the concept, and what is the difference between federalism and Indian federalism. And the second topic, which is the last topic of third unit, is administration of union territories. So topic one and two are such that they both can be concluded in one class with federalism because that talks about union territories as well. So first of all, let us uh, understand what do we understand by these two types of government systems. One is federal and the other one is unitary. So basic thing we need to understand when we say unitary, we have to understand all the powers of the state is united in one place. That is how it is the easy way to understand what is unitary. Unitary means united powers. So all the powers are united in Delhi. So good example for unitary form of government can be British Parliament. Secondly, what is federalism? What happens under federalism? The government type which follows the idea of federal system. One good example is America. Federal system is an amalgam of states who sign up a contract and form a union. So America is a good example because American states, that therefore it is called United States of America, all 50 states have their own different constitutions and they together have come to an agreement for forming a federation. So main power that way lies in Washington DC in America. Is so much clear? Is this much clear? What is federal system and what is unitary? Unitary power is placed in one place. In federal system, power is in the amalgam of different states. Each state has power. So therefore, I said that in America, uh, taxes, the proportion of taxes collected can vary from state to state. In some states, you are allowed to keep weapons. In some states, weapons are not allowed. In some states, you can keep tigers at pets. In other states, you cannot do that. In some states, gay marriages are allowed. In other states, they may be prohibited, and so on. So, like all the states are at having this discretionary power of deciding what is to be done within that, and the central government does not give them directive that you cannot do that. So therefore, in federal system, American government is a good example. In unitary system, British Parliament is a good example. Now, India before independence was under the dominance of British, and because of that, we were heavily influenced in the form of government. Our understanding of government and our understanding of authority comes from our engagement with the British. So now these are the two forms of government, federal and unitary. Now, what is the difference? If I have to give you a clear-cut difference between the two. So let's say first, let's take federal government. In federal government, there are two level of governments. That is, one is central government, the others are state governments. How do you understand which is federal and which is unitary? We can understand it completely on the basis of the separation of powers. If you remember, we had done Montesquieu's separation of powers. He talked about separating all the three branches, executive, judiciary, and legislature, as different so that they don't contravene with each other, they don't intervene in each other's matters, and they remain independent. So in federal government, first is that there are two level of government, central government and state government. Second point in federal government is that political power is shared at both the levels, at the state as well as the government level. Third is that the constitution is rigid and codified. So if you look at the American Constitution appears to be rigid and it is codified. Nobody can change the basic structure of the American Constitution. And lastly, there are two different types of laws that exist under federal government. They are central laws as well as state laws. Now coming to unitary government. In unitary
So,
government, yeah,
so you said that America is a federal type of government, right?
yes,
But sir, President Donald Trump always interfere in the matter of the migrants from Mexico to New York. And why it is happening? Like he's actually declaring, actually negotiating the decision of the New York Prime Minister.
of New York.
Oh, sorry,
Prime Minister of New York,
President.
President of New York.
See, the thing is that when this is a government is ruled by under the federal government setup, the main power also lies with the center because it's an agreement. Do you understand? The main basic original differentiation between unitary and federal government is that in federal governments, states come to an agreement. Therefore, India cannot be called as a complete or purely federal state because most states wanted to form the union of states, union of India. Even the Indian Constitution in Article 1 says that India is a union of states. Now, why the president can interfere in that matter? Because when uh, the immigration issue in America is not only affecting a Buffalo, the near state in Mexico, or the other states only. That illegal immigration, the migrants can also travel to other parts of America. So it becomes a national issue, a national interest issue. It is not about the indigenous or cultural people staying in uh, Ohio or Arkansas, that this is our rules and regulation and so on. Therefore, because it comes under the issue of national interest and it immediately conflicts with the national interest, the issue of illegal immigration, therefore, uh, the American president has to intervene in that.
सर
Yeah.
सर तो फिर इंडिया का क्या फेडरल सिस्टम है ऐसा?
इंडिया का फेडरल सिस्टम नहीं है, मैं वही बता रहा हूँ. We will
तो
come to
यूनिटरी
that.
है.
We will come to that. It
ओके
is in Indian system. It is called as quasi federal.
Yeah,
It's quasi federal.
ओके.
Now coming to unitary government, what is the difference? That in a federal government there are two level of government. In unitary there is only one level of government, that is central government or national government, something like Britain. Unitary governments are also understood to be as parliamentary form of government. Federal governments are also known to be constitutional governments. So in unitary government, parliament is at power. In federal government, constitution is more powerful. So parliament in federal form of government is run according to the constitution. In unitary form of government, the parliament informs the constitution. So in unitary government, there is only one level of government, that is central government or national government. Second point in unitary government is that political power is only held by the central government. So in Britain, if anything has to happen within Britain, is to be decided by the parliament. In America, if something has to happen in Ohio, even the state government of Ohio can decide. Third point in unitary government is that the constitution is flexible and uncodified. So British constitution is flexible. Why it is flexible? Because it is an unwritten constitution. It is mainly influenced by the customs, traditions, and the norms that have continued to happen and are still in power, this customary laws. So the constitution is flexible and uncodified in England. And lastly, only one set of law is applied to the whole of country. Okay, so there is only one particular law that will apply everywhere the same. Not like America. Okay, I'm in this particular state. I'm in Arkansas, Ohio. So I'm allowed to keep weapon, but when I go to other state, it is not allowed. So in Britain, if a person is allowed to keep arms or weapon, he'll be allowed to keep that weapon in all the states of England. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So since now this is clear, now the constitution makers, when they were making the constitution in the Constituent Assembly, they were aware of the linguistic differentiations and cultural differentiations in the Indian population. They knew that geographically and culturally, we are not a melting pot. Do you understand what is melting pot? In melting pot, if I take a pot, put water, and in melting pot you generally make soup. So I put all the vegetables and boil it, and after a certain temperature, all the vegetables get mixed up. So when I eat the soup, I cannot differentiate. Oh, this is cauliflower, this is capsicum, this is potato. I cannot, because they have melted. So American Constitution is something like that. It's a melting pot that whosoever goes in that, whether an African goes, Japanese goes, or Chinese goes, or in Indian goes, they all melt and become American citizens. So there is no dual identity. But these problems of discrimination, racial superiority were quite different in India. So the constitution makers were aware of this idea, and therefore they decided that India should take both the mixture of both the types of government. So India heavily is a unitary form of government, but also has features of federal form of government. Therefore, Indian government can be said to be quasi-federal. So are we clear why India is quasi-federal? Because in India, states also have powers to make laws, but these laws can only follow the line of the center, or they can be little varied from the center. But if they are going wrong, the rule of the center will be allowed in the states. Okay, so now what are the features of Indian federalism? First feature of Indian federalism is written constitution. That India has a clear-cut written constitution. Everything is written in black and white. So whenever there is a conflict that arises between the states and the union government, the written constitution is referred. So India has the elaborate constitution of the world. So which is this one feature, that Indian constitution is rigid and flexible both. It is not only rigid like America, it is not flexible like Britain, but it's a mix of both. Secondly, there is a supremacy of the constitution. As I told you that in federal form of government, constitution is supreme, whereas in unitary form of government, the parliament is supreme. In India, parliament is supreme to make laws and regulations, but constitution is above everybody. Constitution is above, even above the president of India, which is the highest position, official position in Indian government. So therefore, before making laws and everything, we have to refer to the constitution. So therefore, there is supremacy of the constitution in India, and the Constitution of India gives power of judicial review to the Supreme Court to declare any such law which contravenes with the Constitution as void. Third feature of Indian federalism is it's a rigid constitution. So as I've told you that Indian constitution is a mix of rigid and flexible. Which part of Indian constitution is rigid? The basic structure, which is mentioned in the preamble, is rigid. Rest other parts are flexible, which can be changed by a normal majority in the Indian parliament. And also, the number of members in the upper house of the Indian parliament are randomly given. They are not equally represented. But in India, in the lower houses, each state gets appropriate representation. So when you look at the elections of Lok Sabha, Each state gets number of members or member of parliaments in assembly according to their population of the state. So those seats are to be filled by people elected from particular states of India as per the population proportions. Whereas in Rajya Sabha, the number is not regular or fixed. So in Rajya Sabha, there can be one or two member of parliament from Baroda, three from Ahmedabad, and maybe nobody from Surat, or so on. So Gujarat itself will give a number of member of parliaments in Lok Sabha. Now this number can be don't have a 50-50% share of the states. So this is one important feature because the upper house is not equally represented. Whereas when we look at the American Constitution or the US Congress, which is the parliament, the House of Representatives are same as our member of parliaments in Lok Sabha. Number of population and the proportion decides the members. Whereas in their upper house, which is the Senate, there are 100 Senate members. The number is fixed. Two Senate members from each state. So therefore, there are 50 states in American United States of America. So there are 100 Senate members, two from each state. Now there also arises a problem that Texas, being a large territory with a large population, only two Senate members are representing the interest of such a big state. Whereas Arkansas, Ohio, which are smaller in the area to Texas and can also do with one Senate member probably, they are also having two Senate members. So this is how the rigidity of the Constitution is defined here. And even to do any amendment procedure, at least 50% of the states should approve that particular amendment in India. And therefore, this is the rigidity. Otherwise, the quorum is, for example, our class quorum, let me say, can be 12 students. Because in our class, totally we have 25 students. I can say 13 students is the quorum. So what does that mean? Whenever there are 12 people available, I cannot take class because that's not quorum. But where there are 13 or 14 students available, I can take the class because that was the quorum. Quorum is the number of minimum people required. So whereas when you have to make certain big changes in the amendment in the Indian Constitution, you require a majority. A majority is more than 50% because we talk about 2/3. So if there are 100 people and 2/3 of the population, we are talking about 66 members roughly, or 67 members to pass that amendment, to make that amendment pass, to pass the bill of that amendment. Okay, the fourth point is division of powers. Now, since how do we differentiate between unitary and federal type of government completely depends on the idea of separation of powers. So in our constitution, there is a clear-cut division of powers so that nobody violates each other's limits or try to encroach upon each other's function. So there are already three lists given. One is union list, state list, and concurrent list. So union list consists of 100 subjects of national importance such as defense, railways, post, telegraph. So only central government can pass rules and regulations regarding these areas. State list consists of 61 subjects of local interest such as public health, police, uh, um, etc. So only state can make rules and regulations in this regard. So if prohibition of alcohol is considered to be as falling under the idea of local interest of public health, then Gujarat can aptly make the prohibition of alcohol simultaneously. Whereas when the matter falls within the concurrent list consists of 52 subjects, such as union and state, such as electricity, trade union, economic and social planning. And therefore, we have one combined understanding of planning commission. We don't have different state planning commissions. We have one national planning commission, which is now Niti Aayog. So the entire development talks about the planning of the development of the nations to be taken care by the center, and states have no share in that. How many points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now fifth point is the supremacy and independence of the judiciary. Now in India, we have an independent judiciary. So there are subordinate courts under high courts, and the apex body of justice is Supreme Court. So this is a very important feature of federation because the idea of justice is equal for everybody. Because in America, if drinking alcohol in a particular state is not allowed, and if a person has committed a crime of that particular state, that would be first tried in that particular state's court. In India, these certain laws are practiced in accordance to the constitution, and whenever there is a dispute, because if you remember, we talked about Supreme Court. Supreme Court has the original jurisdiction and appellate jurisdiction. Under original jurisdiction, the disputes that arise between one state and the Union of States of India is to be settled. The disputes are to be settled by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court also has the power to call a amendment or a bill null and void if it contravenes with the Constitution. Okay, these features are over. Now we talk about nature of Indian Federation. So what is the nature of Indian Federation? India is not a true federation. The framers of the Constitution modified the true nature of Indian Federation by inculcating certain unitary features. And what are these unitary features? First is that Article 1 of the Indian Constitution states that India is not a federation, but India is a union of states. Because federation is something where the states come united and sign an agreement of forming that particular union, whereas India is not an example of that, and therefore the states do not have the freedom to secede from this union. So if I say I'm Gujarat and I want to separate from Indian Union of States, I will not be allowed, because Indian form of government or Indian constitution is not a product of states signing an agreement to form United States of India. Let's say, for instance, if we were federal, we would have been called United States of India, USI. But because we are not USI, we are heavily unitary. The federation is a union because it is indestructible, and it helps to maintain the unity of the country. So the constitution makers were aware that there may be elements of disaffection or distrust and discrimination. Therefore, how to maintain the unity of the country is by giving all the power to the center. Because if all the power were given, for example, in UP and Maharashtra, so what Raj Thackeray talked about, taking out those taxi drivers and asking them to go away to Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, because this is Maharashtra or the land of the Marathis and so on. If both the states had absolute power, there would have been complete disharmony and disunity. Now, because all these powers lie with the center, that the states cannot go on to this level of and cannot execute what they think is right. Second point in the nature of Indian Federation is that governor is the agent of the center. So if main power lies in Delhi or with the president has his men, women as governor, as agents in the center. So at the time of emergency, the governor represents that particular state. That is the power of unitary. Are you understanding this? Why it is unitary? Because only one person then controls. All the power is centralized in one position. Third point is there is unequal representation in the upper house. So Rajya Sabha has unequal representation in the upper house. As I had told you that we have different number of members from different states in Rajya Sabha. 12 are dominated by the president, and so on and so forth. Whereas in America, the upper house has a fixed number of 2 Senate members in each state in US Congress. So there is unequal representation in upper house, whereas lower house gets a better representation. So there is equal representation in lower house, that is Lok Sabha, but there is unequal representation in Rajya Sabha. Another point is appointment of important organization heads. So there are important organization heads which are selected by the center itself, and they remain completely independent. For example, Chief Election Commissioner, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, or Attorney General of India, Chief Justice of India. These are the main important positions of the organizations which are appointed by the center. Another point in the nature of Indian Federation is there is single citizenship. So India offers the concept of single citizenship. So I am Indian. I may be Maharashtrian. I may be Bengali. I may be Oriya. I may be Assamese, but I am an Indian. Whereas if you look at America can allow you to keep dual citizenship. So, for example, I am an African American. I am a Chinese American. So in America, you require two citizenship. One is of the United States, and one is of the particular state in which you are residing. And also in India, when, for example, if I immigrate to Canada and give up my Indian citizenship, I will then only I can get the Canadian passport. But in some countries, it is also allowed to have dual citizenship, that I can carry Canadian passport as well and still remain the Indian citizen as well. But so is not the case in India. If you are not a citizen by naturalization or by birth or any other factor, you have to give up the Indian citizenship in order to get your citizenship anywhere else. Another point stating the unitary feature is there is all India services. So all India under all India services, which is UPSC, Union Public Service Commission of India. All India services is formed. It's also known as civil services. All IAS, IPS, IFS officers are appointed by the hand, order, and seal of the president, and they are the people of the center, and they are controlled by the union. So, so a union has its reflection present in each state, even though that particular state has its own workforce. So, for example, if we take example of Gujarat, Gujarat has Gujarat Public Service Commission. See, all the officers, Mamlatdar, Deputy Collector, DYSP, a person can join the Gujarat Police Force through GPSC, Gujarat Public Service Commission, but they will also be IAS officers who are designated or appointed or transferred to Gujarat to taking care of. So it's a two-way process that is happening. A state having its own police, and they are headed by the officers from the central government. So, for example, if an IAS officer comes in conflict with the chief minister directly cannot remove that officer which has come from the state. It is only by the president or the administration and the president that such person can be transferred. Another point is emergency provisions. You know, when there is financial emergency, the center exercises full control over the states in the matter of finances. When there are disturbances, union government is empowered to depute central force or central forces of the states, and even there are military marches when the things go out of the hand of the state, when there is president's rule. All the three types of emergency, center is empowered to take care of this state machinery. The state has the center has the absolute power to take care of the state machinery. Second last point is parliament control over the state. So all the states are free to make the rules and regulations according to the concurrent list within their purview, but no state can alter its name or boundaries without the parliament. So this power has been given to the parliament, which is the union power. That it is only by the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha that the name or the boundaries of the states can be altered and new states can be created if parliament is convinced. And parliament can also alter the subjects mentioned in the state list. So it can take away few subjects from the state list, depriving the state to not allowing them to make laws, or it can also add more subjects in the state list, giving more freedom to the states. Lastly, a unified judiciary. Uh, Even though the rules and regulations that apply according to the constitution are the same in the subordinate courts, high courts, and Supreme Court, but the unified judicial system is the dual system of courts which is present in India, whereas each state having its own high court as well as it is finally connecting it the apex body as Supreme Court. Therefore, now Indian Constitution establishes a strong center with equal distribution of power among the states. But the main power rests with the center to maintain the integrity, diversity, and unity of the state. And especially states which are financially dependent on the center, it becomes a duty of of the center to take care of such states, and states have to work in close cooperation with the center. Now states cannot say I'm not going to support the policies of the center. Now that was one big issue about this. For example, each political party, we had also witnessed this through Delhi election exit poll debate that we had. So why it remains so important that the government which has majority in India should also have, it is prescribed, should also have majority in Delhi. Why? Because Delhi is where the power of the center is posited. And if, for example, BJP is having power everywhere in India, but it is not having power in Delhi, the government and the union structure comes into direct conflict because of that. Because Delhi is the seat of the government, but Delhi is now being managed by some other party, and because of the power of the unitary form of government, more power lies with the lieutenant governor who's appointed by the president in that particular state. So therefore, each party looks forward to taking control of Delhi, side by side being the majority party of the, or gaining majority of the rules in the